The BBC interpreted alụsị kpakalia ike, alụsị wakalia anya, agwa ya osisi ọ nkụ eji wee pịa ya. The BBC interpreted it as if oracle demand too much, im owner go show am the tree dem carve am from. I read this and I resolved to put the record straight. What the Igbos say and mean, I'm going to the English language now, is if alose becomes overbearing, becomes arrogant, the Igbos will tell that alose, the wood it is carved from. Now take it. The Igbos never understood alose to mean oracle. When I saw this travesty, this misinterpretation, this mistranslation, this misrepresentation, and went online and saw alose Igbo pantheon. There is no such thing as an Igbo pantheon. This will open the eyes of people and open the minds of those willing to learn about Igbo culture. Most of the information circulating online about the Igbos are not based on facts. They are based on fantasies. People wake up without any training, without any information. They write whatever they please for clickbait. And as nihilists, at this particular time we are in, many Igbos are determined to tear down whatever is left of the Igbo people. And unfortunately, they are tearing down the culture, the very heart of the people. I copied the post from one Udeke, and I'll read my response. I said, you know what's wrong with the BBC story interpretation associated with these masks? Because they brought out some masks and interpreted the masks as oracle. The Igbos demonstrated something with the right and true interpretation of the story associated with what I'm saying. Unfortunately, the Igbos, after a long time in what became West Africa, have begun, remember they are humans. Igbos are human beings, just like other humans. Every civilization suffers decline from time to time. Igbos entered into West Africa with the knowledge intact that there is only one God. They called him Chukwu. But after a long time, some have begun to forget that only Chukwu could be God, and had begun to think that the charms and amulets that some of them went to neighboring peoples to import could also have the character of, I'm hesitant to call them gods. But definitely they think that those charms and amulets had power. And they call them alose. They assimilated the word alose or arose from the Yoruba word orisa. Orisa means God in Yoruba. Through Benin, interestingly, until recent times, if an Igbo wanted to make charms, that Igbo said, let me go to Ijebu-Ode. They have good makers of charms there. Ijebu-Ode is a city in Yoruba land. Those Igbos did not say, let me go to any city in Igbo land. They said, let me go to Ijebu-Ode to find somebody who would make charms for me. So when they brought some of these charms and amulets, over time, they began to call them alose. And alose is the Yoruba word. Some elements of the Benin society also have the same cognate word. To the Yorubas, Orisa is a god. And when this word entered the Igbo lexicon, it became alose. Over time, these Igbos who began to fraternize with these charms and amulets began to also think that alose meant a god. But herein, their belief comes with a twist. But because the Igbos remembered that these images are actually not gods, remember, they have a knowledge that Chiukwu, great God, is God. And over time, especially after Christianity had come and the society turned upside down, they began to also think that these charms and amulets were gods. Remember, English language also came with its own changes in the Igbo worldview. But because the Igbos remember that these charms are actually not gods, they said that if the alose became overbearing, they will tell them the wood they are carved from. This is what the BBC misinterpreted to, mistranslated to oracle. The BBC and its reporters, the BBC has not really done so well by the Igbos. I have my reasons for saying this. But let us not go into that so that we don't become distracted. Because they know that if they used God instead of the oracle they used, many Igbos will think and realize that they traditionally do not have or know anything about gods. Remember, this is a threat. If this alose becomes overbearing, we tell it the wood we used to carve it. This is a threat. If the BBC had translated properly and said, not used oracle, but gods, which Igbos began to associate with alose after Christianity had come and changed the society, a lot of Igbos will think, you don't threaten a god, you cannot threaten a god. But here are those Igbos who associated alose with God threatening alose and telling them, if you become overbearing, we tell you the wood we carved you from. Going further, these Igbos that are jumping up and down today in order to be like their neighbors, calling the shrines their ancestors worshipped in gods, calling rivers gods, which their ancestors never did, must remember that the Igbos burnt these charms, which had become alose. No people would have the courage to burn their gods. Igbos knew that these things were not gods. Why are we highlighting all this? I am like the doctor who knows what is wrong with the patient. Igbos cannot thrive as long as Igbos continue to think that they have gods. You can never be superior to what you worship if you are thinking that a piece of wood is your God, be prepared to be inferior to that piece of wood. And the Igbos had reached a level that they are only coming down. As long as they believe that there is anything beside the Almighty God that is a God. In the next 50 years, they would say that 2024 was paradise. And instructively, there is no word for God with a small g, gods with a small g, goddess with a small g, goddesses with a small g in the Igbo language. No word for these things exists. But a name, a proper name for the supreme being, Chiukwu, exists. No Igbo has ever heard the term Chinta. I laugh at those that say that Chi is different from Chiukwu. One of the most futile ventures some Igbos have gotten themselves involved in is trying to look at Igbo culture without taking into consideration the Israelite heritage of the people. It's a fool's errand. I mean, trying to explain Omenana without recourse to what you find in the Hebrew Bible is a fool's errand, it's a waste of time. One of the most learned hachams or rabbis in the world, I'm talking about people who really went to school, this guy has a PhD, asked me and a group of extremely learned Igbos, he told us, he started with a question. He said, Judaism cites the Talmud and the Torah. What does Omenana cite? What book? I provided the answer. Torah cited Omenana. The Hebrew Bible cites Omenana. The Igbos can decide to be who they are, or they can decide to go down. And a minority has decided to go up. They meet every Saturday for Shabbat service. Some African Americans have joined them. Some Caribbeans have joined them. Some Jews have joined them as family. These are the ones that have decided to go up. The ones that keep on looking at trees and keep on saying that these are their gods. Rivers. I only laughed, but I wish them well, and I say sorry to them. Thank you.